They say war follows you home. I used to think that was a lie. Something people said when they couldn't let go of the battlefield. But the war found me again. Not in some desert halfway across the world, but on a manicured lawn in suburbia. My enemy didn't carry a rifle. She carried a clipboard and a spray can. And the target wasn't me. It was Teddy. My service dog, my lifeline, the only partner I have left. My name's Jack Dalton. Once upon a time, I worked dogs who could sniff out a bomb in a dust storm. Now my mission partner is Teddy. A golden retriever with a heart of gold and a job that matters more than any assignment I ever pulled in uniform. He steadies me when the noise in my head spikes, keeps me tethered when the world tries to pull me apart. Around here, his toughest task is chasing squirrels off the bird feeder. Life in the suburbs wasn't glamorous, but it was supposed to be calm. Peace, I thought, was something I'd earned. But in my neighborhood, peace had a gatekeeper, Karen Jordan, president of the HOA. To her, every cracked sidewalk and crooked lawn chair was a rebellion. Beige paint was gospel, mailbox dimensions her holy scripture. And if you crossed her, she came down like artillery fire. That morning was quiet. Sprinklers hissed. The sun broke soft across trimmed hedges, and Teddy was sniffing Mrs. Gable's roses. Then crack. A delivery truck backfired. The sound hit me like a rifle report. My chest seized. My pulse spiked. Teddy felt it instantly. He barked once, pressed his shoulder into my leg. Deep pressure, the cue that pulls me back. One bark. That's all. The front door across the street slammed open. Out marched Karen, visor glued to her forehead, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. "Jack Dalton," she screeched. "You cannot control that animal." I took a slow, practiced breath. "He's a service dog, Karen." He startled. "That's it." She spun to face the empty street like she was addressing an audience. "This menace is disturbing the community. Constant barking, constant threats, lies." Teddy barked maybe twice a week. Less than half the purse dogs yapping behind white fences. But Karen had decided, and when she decided, truth didn't matter. We turned to walk away. That should have been the end of it. But a police cruiser rolled up the street. Karen's eyes lit up like she'd just been handed the gavel. She flagged them down, 2 more units trailing. Officers Miller and Sanchez stepped out, weary faces saying they already regretted stopping. Karen went on a theatrical tirade about my rabid beast lunging at her. Meanwhile, Teddy sat calm at my side, tail thumping softly against the pavement, eyes looking up at me as if to ask, "What did I do wrong, Dad?" Then she did it. While the officers were distracted, Karen lifted a small canister from her pocket. Before I could move, she sprayed Teddy point blank. Mist splashed across his eyes. He yelped, pawing frantically at his face, whining in panic. I dropped to my knees. "Easy, buddy. I've got you." His eyes were red and streaming, the air reeking of chemicals. The cops jolted awake, finally realizing what just happened. Sanchez shoved a saline bottle into my hand. "Flush him out now." I did, seething. "She just assaulted my service dog. In front of you." Karen, smug, held up the can. "Citronella spray. Harmless. Harmless." Teddy trembled beside me, eyes burning. Later, the lab would confirm it wasn't citronella at all. There was capsaicin in the mix. The officers bagged the can as evidence, muttering about animal control jurisdiction and paperwork. Then they told me to take Teddy home, like it was nothing, like my partner's pain was just a neighborhood spat. But I knew better. This wasn't a spat. This was war. The next morning, animal control pulled into my driveway. The officer, Ruiz, looked tired, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Dalton, we received a report. Your dog allegedly bit a child yesterday." The words hit like a gut punch. A child? There had been no child. It was a fabricated story, perfectly timed to cover the officer's arrival the day before. A phantom victim no one could disprove on the spot. I told Ruiz exactly that. He just shook his head. "Sir, procedure requires quarantine. 10 days. Either at the county shelter or at home under strict conditions." I clenched my jaw. The shelter would break Teddy. Years of training undone by cold concrete and endless noise. I forced the words out. He stays with me. Ruiz relented but handed me a giant orange sign for my front door. Dangerous animal. My sanctuary branded like a prison. Worse, he told me Karen had filed for an emergency destruction order. Unless I could present evidence within 24 hours, Teddy could be seized and euthanized. 24 hours to prove a negative. 24 hours to save my dog's life. The neighborhood became my battlefield. I mapped out every house with a line of sight to the street. Cameras were everywhere, doorbells, floodlights, security rigs. Someone had to have caught the truth. I knocked on doors. The Millers, young couple next door, wouldn't meet my eyes. Claimed their subscription expired. Mrs. Gable, who'd seen it all, wrung her hands and whispered about her shed being out of code. She wouldn't risk Karen's wrath. Duke, across the street, swore his camera was on the fritz. His green light stared me in the face. Cowards. All of them trapped in Karen's web of petty rules and fines. Each rejection was a nail in the coffin. Hours bled away. Teddy watched me pace, his tail still, his trust unwavering even while fear gnawed me hollow. By midnight, I'd nearly lost hope. Then my phone buzzed. A blocked number. I answered. A low voice. Check your email. Don't say my name. Click. I opened the inbox. Attached was video footage, grainy, but clear enough. Teddy barked once. Karen stormed out. No child anywhere. Then the spray. All in high definition. Proof. By morning, I had the evidence packaged, labeled, and sent to animal control with a sworn statement. The clock was still ticking, but for the first time I wasn't playing defense. Hours later, Ruiz called back. His tone had shifted. Respect now, maybe even guilt. Mr. Dalton, we've reviewed your submission. The destruction order is denied. The quarantine stands for now, but your dog is cleared of the allegation. Relief hit like a wave. Teddy leaned against me as if he knew. Karen Jordan had tried to kill him with lies and poison. She had the HOA in her fist, the neighbors in her pocket. But she underestimated one thing. I don't break easy. And I don't forget. This wasn't finished. Teddy was safe for now. But peace? Peace was gone. And I was done playing nice. The hearing was still on the books, even with the destruction order denied. Teddy's name lingered on the quarantine list like a scarlet letter. And the sign on my door, the one screaming dangerous animal, remained until the county said otherwise. Every neighbor who walked past slowed their stride. Some looked away. Others stared too long. That was the power of a lie. Even when you proved it false, the stain clung. Karen Jordan counted on that. She thought reputation was a weapon. She'd wielded it against weaker neighbors for years. But she didn't know me. I'd lived in places where lies got men killed, where survival meant cutting through disinformation before it swallowed you whole. If she wanted a war of perception, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I wasn't going to defend anymore. I was going to dismantle her. Every operation starts with intel, and Karen's HOA wasn't a homeowners association. It was a petty dictatorship. Dictators survive by leverage. My mission was to find what strings she pulled, and where they frayed. I started with the bylaws. 50 pages of bureaucratic scripture Karen waved like a holy text. But buried in the amendments, I found inconsistencies. Rules she'd enforced selectively. Architectural violations waived for friends. Fines doubled for enemies. I documented it all, line by line. Next came financials. HOAs collect dues. Dues mean money, and money leaves trails. Public records showed discrepancies. Vendor payments that didn't match bids. Landscaping contracts awarded to companies tied to her cousin. Not illegal yet, but enough smoke to suggest fire. Evidence is just ammunition. What matters is timing. I went back to the people who'd turned me away. The Millers, Mrs. Gable, even Duke. Not with anger this time, but with strategy. Fear works in both directions, and Karen wasn't the only one who could project it. I showed the Millers the footage, the spray, the lie. Their faces paled. If she'll do that to him, I said quietly, what makes you think she won't target you next? The husband swallowed hard. That night, he emailed me his camera's backup. subscription intact. Mrs. Gable cracked after I pointed to her shed. She's holding that over you, I said. But what happens if she loses her post? Suddenly, no one cares about your shed. She trembled, but she signed a statement. Even Duke bent when I mentioned the property taxes he complained about daily. Funny thing, I said. Karen's been lobbying to raise HOA fees. Guess who'll pay the most? Owners of oversized trucks. His jaw flexed. An hour later, he slid me a thumb drive with 2 days of pristine footage. His broken camera was fine. One by one, her loyalists shifted. Not out of loyalty to me, but self-preservation. That was enough. The county hearing loomed. Karen planned to paint me as unstable, Teddy as a menace. But I'd been in enough interrogations to know how to stack the deck. When the day came, I walked in with a folder thicker than the case file itself. Photographs, footage, sworn statements, a timeline that showed, minute by minute, exactly what happened. And when Karen spoke, her shrill voice spinning tales of phantom children and vicious attacks, I didn't interrupt. I let her dig. Her words twisted deeper, contradictions piling. Then I handed the panel my packet. Evidence laid out like ordnance. Silence. The kind of silence you get when the air gets sucked out of a room. The ruling was swift. Teddy cleared, quarantine lifted, complaint dismissed. But the real victory came after. A week later, a county auditor, tipped anonymously, requested HOA financials. Rumor spread fast. Misuse of funds, selective enforcement, abuse of power. Neighbors once cowed by her rule began whispering, then meeting, then openly questioning. By the next board election, Karen Jordan's name wasn't even on the ballot. I stood in my driveway the night it became official. The orange quarantine sign had long since been peeled from my door, replaced with nothing but clean wood. Teddy lay at my feet, head heavy on my boot, breathing calm. The street was quiet again. The kind of quiet I'd been chasing for years. I scratched behind Teddy's ears. Mission complete, buddy. He thumped his tail once. Just once. Like he knew. The victory didn't taste the way I thought it would. Karen was gone from the HOA, yes. Teddy's name cleared, yes. But in quiet moments, I'd still catch neighbors glancing at me sideways. The orange dangerous animal sign had vanished from my door, but its ghost still burned in their eyes. That's the thing about lies, you can kill them, but their shadow lingers. And Karen wasn't the kind of person who took humiliation quietly. 2 weeks later, I got the summons. Civil court. Karen Jordan versus Jack Dalton. The claim: emotional distress, harassment, reputational damage. She wanted money, but more than that, she wanted a stage. I sat at my kitchen table, paper trembling in my hands. Teddy lay across my feet, warm and steady. My pulse slowed. My head cleared. This wasn't just Karen's vendetta anymore. It was strategy. She'd lost the HOA, so she was taking the fight into another arena. Fine. New battlefield. Same mission. Old habits die hard. I rigged a basic counter-surveillance setup, doorbell cams linked to a secure drive, motion sensors tied into a backup power source. I wasn't going to be caught blind again. That's when I caught the first break. Late one night, a sedan idled at the curb outside my house. Same car 3 nights in a row. Different drivers, same pattern. Idling, lights dimmed. 15 minutes, then gone. Not cops. Not neighbors. I pulled plates. They traced back to a security firm, one with contracts linked to the very landscaping company I'd flagged in the HOA's books. The HOA money trail wasn't just sloppy accounting. It was a shell game, and Karen was more than a tyrant in a pink visor. She was connected. I reached out to an old contact from my service days. Mason, private investigator now, still with a nose for rot. I fed him the company names. Within a week, he called back. Jack, you're sitting on a land grab. HOA funds are being funneled to inflate property values, clear lots, and sell contracts to developers under the table. Karen's cousin? He's knee-deep in it. I rubbed my jaw. It wasn't just pettiness, it was profit. And Teddy and I were collateral. They'll come at you harder, Mason warned. She can't afford you digging deeper. I looked down at Teddy, his head tilted, ears perked. My partner, my anchor. He hadn't asked for this war, but he was in it with me all the same. Then we don't wait, I said. We hit first. I compiled a new dossier, contracts, payments, connections. Mason filled the gaps with surveillance photos, timestamps, bank records. It was airtight, but I didn't take it to court. Not yet. Courts could be bought, delayed, buried. No, I leaked it. Anonymously. Local reporters. Community forums. Even slipped copies under a few doors in the neighborhood. By dawn, the fire had spread. HOA members who once trembled at Karen's knock were now demanding resignations. The county opened an investigation. The developer's name splashed across headlines. And Karen? She came storming down my driveway that afternoon, her face red, her fists clenched. This isn't over, Dalton, she spat. You think you've won? You have no idea what you're up against. I didn't raise my voice, didn't even stand from the porch step. I just rested my hand on Teddy's head, steady and calm. You came for my dog, I said quietly. That was your mistake. Now I'm coming for everything else. Her eyes narrowed. For the first time, I saw fear in them. She turned and stormed off. But her words lingered. You have no idea what you're up against. And the truth was, she might have been right.